So, welcome to tonight's Monday Live, where I'm joined by Matt, who's sadly not fit enough to hit balls.
No.
Or I missed you.
Yeah, decided to fall off a rock. Wasn't a good idea.
Not good. Rock down in Cornwall. Yeah. But so you'll have me to do that if you want to ask anything. But obviously, James and I were at the PGA show last week, so it's kind of the start of the golf season from a sort of trade point of view. Always used to be where products were launched, whereas now we've kind of heard about them before from an equipment standpoint. But the scale of the show is vast. I mean, the actual conference hall is 500 odd meters from one end to the other, and about a third of it is equipment, and the rest are kind of soft goods, combat-coloured buggies, clothing, statues, flags, range
Paddle
equipment.
this year?
Paddle and pickleball. That's the racket sports section. That's actually, I guess, it was interesting this year. I felt like it was busy. There were some booths actually out in the walkway, but it felt like there were more bigger booths and maybe a little bit more spread out. But Wednesday was absolutely humming. It was really, really busy for attendees, and then by Thursday, most people have done what they need to because they make a couple of counts and then they go off to play golf. But good show this year.
Good. I mean, you played your golf at the beginning of the week instead, didn't you?
We did. We got out. We got out on Sunday and Monday. Yeah. But I think it's an interesting one in terms of James and I have done this 21 years now, and where it used to be that we'd go see product for the first time, you'd actually take photos and post them at demo day for the first time, where we might have seen the odd picture but never in hand. Whereas now that's completely changed. Demo day this year, there was some big gaps on the range, and I think there's a bit of a rethink required for that. I think the purpose of it has changed. It's almost like it's where, I guess historically the club pros would go test them on demo day and then place the pre-books on the Wednesday or the Thursday when they went to the show hall. Whereas now, let's say we've all seen them. Maybe we've had more of a chance to test them than others would, but I think that's something that could be freshened up a little bit.
Okay, fair enough. We'll see what happens in the coming years. As for real golf, as such, the PGA, both PGA Tour and DP World Tour were back in full action this week. With a big Rolex series out in Dubai, and then Scotty putting on a clinic in the US.
Well, apparently shooting 60 when you're 18 is quite easy.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think, we talked about this briefly earlier.
6 days in a row?
Yeah, he played Corn Free Tour event.
Sunday through Wednesday.
Yeah.
Finished the Wednesday night, got on a private jet, turned up Wednesday evening and didn't get a practice round and goes and shoots 68-60.
It's funny how often that happens. I remember Ross Fisher played at the London club. His clubs didn't arrive. He borrowed a set, went out and shot 63 or something like that. It's amazing that almost that lack of preparation seems to, whether it's just them play what's in front of them rather than actually kind of overthinking things. But it's amazing how often that works out. Although I'm sure there are a lot of times it doesn't work out that we don't hear about.
Lack of pressure, maybe. They just don't even put themselves under that stress. Yeah.
Very impressive. He certainly seems to be one for the future.
Yes. Very simple swing.
Mr. Scheffler
is one for now.
Just carried on, hasn't it? Yeah, very impressive.
20 wins in his last 70 events. Just Tiger's the only one to have beaten that record.
There was a stat they were talking about in the coverage that actually we caught whilst we were still out in the States, where they're saying that, I know actually we're back by this point actually, halfway leads, I think Scheffler's conversion rate, I want to say is about 40%. Nicklaus was 63, Tiger, 86. I believe those are the exact numbers. 86%. So that just shows how far ahead he was.
Yeah.
But that's halfway lead. That's not even 3 rounds. 86% win ratio when you're leading a halfway stage.
Just crazy numbers. Saw another. I mean, like it's the week whenever Scotty wins, you start to see some silly stats appear. There was a stat that appeared that of those 70 events that he's played in, where he's won the last 20. He's won 20. Rory's won 10, and then Scotty by more than 4 shots is next at 9.
Right. Okay.
And then it's Schauffele at 6, and then it becomes the ones that have won just a couple of events. But it's that thing with Scotty, is it's not just, I just beat you to the post. It's if I'm going to win, I'm just going to go out there and destroy you.
And had he not put it in the water on the 17th, he's won by another couple of shots.
Yeah.
So and so Patrick Reed in Dubai.
That's a statement to make.
Yeah.
I'll pay my $1.5 million in fines, and then I'll go and win 1.53.
And I think no matter what we think about the man himself and what he's done in the past, he's a heck of a player.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a real global player, and he's travelled the world, and his short game's unbelievably good. but he's major championship ready again this year, I think.
It was a couple of the guys were having a chat at lunch, and you'd love to see him versus Noren in a short game.
Okay,
A short game masterclass.
Yeah.
Let's just have 2 hours of just the two of them in a game of horse as they play in basketball. You've got to match the shot. Call it 3 foot's your target.
Yeah.
And I'd just love to see that. Just give me 2 hours of that on the TV. I could watch that happily. Because they are just, he is just a wizard when it comes to getting himself out of trouble.
So, enough about golf that's been. A few questions coming through.
Do you want to do a rundown on the PGA show first?
We'll do a brief. I've got a few notes actually, just to give you guys a kind of a bit of a brief rundown on the things that we picked up on that we're still allowed to talk about. So we had a good few conversations with brands about product, some of the things from a head weights point of view that we'd like to get, and actually may find that we'll be able to get better head weights. For example, spoke to Cobra about it, and they have a tolerance they work within that actually we can request, which helps a lot. So, and it's these sort of little bits of info that we can get when we're out there that sometimes are only available US side, stateside, and sometimes are available over here. So, for example, there's Mizuno, they've got the burnt copper finish on the T1 wedge in the States. We're going to work out whether that's available over here or not. So we'll go there, and it's for example, Mizuno North America do the booth, and we go on there and go, "Oh, it's available in Europe." They go, "I don't know," but little things like that. Something that I can't say that PXG are working on, but from a profile product point of view, next year that's going to be interesting. We are going to be getting samples of a shaft called Deramax. Now they're made by Olympic, who make the materials in the OBA and the AK, and they're looking to kind of enter European, US markets, and that's really exciting from a material quality standpoint. So where companies like Graphite Design use the Toray M40X material in part of their shaft, these guys use it at full length. So, but because of the yen exchange rate at the moment, they actually come in pretty good value. They're going to come in similar price to Fuji Ventus, Mitsubishi Diamana. So these are super top grade materials, but actually at the same kind of price that you're paying for a premium quality, still a very good quality shaft, but those are really quite interesting, and they're going to do driver hybrid and iron, or wood hybrid and iron shafts. So a few options to get in, but actually just a really good quality that currently isn't available over here.
Just look out for those in the coming weeks as we get hold of them.
TrackMan motion analysis. That was really key to see, where it's essentially camera behind and in front, and gives you motion tracking. So in the same way that Sportsbox AI, that kind of thing, where you haven't got to stick sensors on you, but you can map hip rotation, shoulder rotation, arm plane. They haven't got club tracking yet in terms of shaft and that side, but that inevitably at some point is going to come. But that was very, very impressive.
Be interesting to see. That's probably more right now. It's probably more of a coaching thing, but it's something we will look to see how do we potentially incorporate that in what we do from a fitting side of things, because there's definitely some relationship between club and how the club moves and how the body moves. So it's something for us definitely to play around with once we get our hands on it, and then have that ultimately just have another tool for the fitting day when we require it. Yeah,
and I think it's the club tracking, and what will inevitably happen is looking at where the main stress points on the shaft are, therefore looking at bend profiles and why something might give more consistent results, what suit a player a little bit more, and actually quantifying it rather than going, oh, look, we've got a little bit of a lag and a bit of a drop in. At the moment, there are a lot of assumptions we have to make based on what we're seeing from someone's action acceleration profile, but this will be able to pinpoint a part of the shaft that's taking the most stress as and when it comes. This is what I'd expect it to be, and that will help us narrow down on shaft options much quicker and more accurately as well, which will be great. There will be product launches by several shaft companies. I don't know whether I can talk about those outwardly yet. So, but there are some expansions of lines from the likes of Mitsubishi. There are some. Oben will be releasing new shafts this year. So there are a few things coming. The shaft companies don't necessarily talk so much about dates they want people to talk about them by. So I don't want to say anything yet until it's clarified. But some interesting product launches coming. There is a black Nippon shaft. A series, the 105, 120,
the wedge,
and the wedge shaft. in a luxury black finish is the terminology, and actually rather than it being a coating, it's within the chrome. So it's going to be much more hard wearing than some of the previous offerings. And it does look great. Even the logo's in black.
Yeah, the pictures are now on their website, and yeah, I had a set of shafts given to me that were a different finish that they trialed for a short period of time, but it still had the red coating on them. It just wore off instantly. But this being black on black looks like it's mean, and it looks like it's going to stick around once it's on there. It does look
really good. Yeah, we'll have timings and pricing in the coming weeks, but that's something that is out there now. That's a genuinely one of the black finish shafts that, a bit like some of the KBS finishes, where they're in the chrome, should wear very, very well. Had a good hit with the FI and a bit of a test in the chat to Graphite Design about the FI. That sits really nicely between GC and VF. We're shafting up a load of demos at the moment. That'll be ready probably for next week's live. Flight Intelligence, yes, they all have names. The FI, the DI, the GC all have, GC's Game Changer, DI's Deep Impact. They all have meanings. Yes, Flight Intelligence for the FI. But yeah, that's the HD has gone from the line, and that actually I think balances the range off a little bit more, a little bit better. Obviously, Platform Golf have partnered up with TrackMan, integrated with TrackMan. That'll be something, that relationship and the partnering of the two technologies, that will develop out. That I would imagine by mid-year that'll all be done. But the agreement's been signed, and they've changed all the actuators from their own kit, so it's much smoother, much quicker, much more slick. So we've had the update into our studio upstairs. So that we look forward to using that. Let's see if there's anything of. There's a potential for magnetized weights for fitting with. That's something we're having a little look into. A company that, rather than sticking lead tape on and off, which works, but if you're having to go kind of 4, 5, 6 grams on it, it can be a lot of it. Whereas these are some magnetized weights that, if you chose to use them in the build, have got a 3M tape on the back, which is incredibly strong, and that could make the fitting process just a little bit cleaner. So yeah, a few tidbits from it, but.
Is that your lot from the show?
There are a couple of bits I can't talk about yet. But yeah, I don't want to kind of get out there quite yet until we've confirmed a few things. But yeah.
I saw there was a date for the Modus Black, but I don't know if that's an official date. But it's not too far away.
No, not too far away. I think we're realistically looking kind of April-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we get into some questions?
Right, buddy, get some questions going. Yeah.
Start off with Peter Kendall. Hi, Peter. Hi guys, in your opinion, what is the best driver for accuracy on off-center hits, and can you hit it?
So, I mean, there are a few that will have just launched that we haven't. We've got a couple of demo sets that are due to come in. I'm expecting the Cobras to be very good for that, based on what they're doing from a design point of view. But our demo batch got a little bit delayed.
Yeah, I would suggest ask us that question again in about 2 weeks, and we'll have a better answer. Yeah. I think off the initial small batch testing we have done with stuff, spin consistency, off-center, TaylorMade seem to have found something that the others haven't quite clicked into. And I mean, ping is ping when it comes to forgiveness off-center.
Max K
will
be incredibly good for that.
But the initial test we got with Cobra in November when they came to see us, I think it's unfair to give you an answer to that until we have that in and have done a proper test.
Give it a couple of weeks, then there are a couple of heads that are going to be really worth looking at. Cobra, because they're calling it POI. It's the 3 planes, rather than just the X and Y, the 2-dimension. Then it's actually toe up as well. So in terms of how the head twists around the shaft, and that, speaking to Jose Miraflores, who's one of the head of design, that actually it's a small change in where the center of gravity moves to, but it makes a big difference to how it resists rotation. So that one we will definitely be coming back to.
The Yorkshire Blade asks, hi Simon, shows just get better for both regarding on the course. What amount of effort by swing speed are you using, and is it the same for irons and woods?
So I guess in terms of percentage of irons, it definitely ramps up as you go up the bag. I think because irons, I'm not looking to necessarily max out distance unless there's a particular shot where I'm trying to create something or force or draw into a back left pin, almost that I know I can't go long with. So I would say irons, I'm probably about 80%. It's positive but comfortable. Yeah. And driver, I'm probably averaging about 90%. 90. Probably feels like 90. It's probably nearer 95. But I'll rarely go, because I was disappointingly slow practicing before going off the stage. I need to practice going more 100% to up my levels. And we talked to Eddie Fernandez, so Fast Eddie, who's one of the, he's world senior long drive champion, and in his 50s is still at 150 club speed.
Yeah.
I mean, incredible. And he was saying actually speed training without striking the ball can cause injuries because you haven't got that as
Resistance.
you're coming through. Yeah, it changes. You're likely to kind of pull a muscle somewhere. So actually hitting balls. Oh, like kicking a football. He said you wouldn't go to kind of kick a football without a ball there because your balance is affected. And actually, practicing speed training without actually hitting a ball, actually it's more effective hitting a ball with it.
That is something that's actually personal experience for me. I tried when speed sticks started to become popular right at the very kind of beginning in their launch. I tried them for 3 weeks. Not something I would ever, to be honest, from personal experience, not something I would ever suggest someone use over genuinely trying to hit the ball harder at the end of every practice session. For me, I'm probably 75% on course and with irons and 80% with driver, but at 137 at 100%, 80% is more than enough.
But it's a very interesting point Eddie made about it. He said it's actually the one thing that I get the principle of the speed sticks in terms of you're upping your base level and actually, do you want to worry too much about technique if you're just trying to increase speed? But the problem then is if you then haven't worried about technique, your technique's fallen off a little bit. And he was saying actually that face awareness, the control, the strike control, actually, that's so key to then taking that onto the course. I think it's a really interesting point.
Sweating Merlot, what a great name that is. Evening, gents. Currently play the GT2 in 10 degree with a Ventus Plus Red 6X, swing speed 113. I like the setup and feel, but getting a little bit too much spin, 3,000 average. Would you suggest trying GT3 or something else? Any suggestions?
I think there are kind of a couple of routes you can go. I mean, certainly going to GT3 versus GT2, and depending on what your launch profile is, taking loft down a little bit, you're going to bring spin down straight away. I mean, probably if it's just GT2 to GT3, 500 revs.
Yeah, 400 or 500.
Maybe slightly more, but yeah, around that. If you then take loft down a degree, you're going to get another 500-600 off. So you could go down to a 9 degree in a GT2 if you want the safety net of that head. The other route would be something like the Velocore Plus and the Blue, where it's more tip stout. That's going to take a few hundred revs off maybe. But the most direct way for me would be head style.
Especially if you like the feel of the way the shaft loads and unloads, I'd say try the GT3 and the 10 and the 9 and see what you get from the numbers. The only other thing to throw out there would be golf ball, but that's a whole can of worms in itself that I think we could do a whole hour just talking about that and we wouldn't even scratch the surface.
You're probably going to get on driver, depending on what ball you're in. If you're, let's just take the point, if you're in a premium ball and it's not a high spin ball, then going to the ultra low balls, you're probably taking 300 to 500 revs off as well, maybe. But actually at your speed, you might well do that. So that would be another option too.
Lee Roberts asks, hey guys, hope you had a fed time in the US. Could you please hit the 440k with the Ventus Plus Blue and the Tour AD VF? If you gamed one of those two shafts, would the others suit, or are they totally different profiles?
So very quickly, the 440k, Ping aren't sending any out until their launch date, which is the 29th. So nobody has them.
No one this week.
But hopefully next week we'll have them. And the shaft question?
Ventus Plus Blue and Tour AD VF. If you gamed one of the shafts, would the other suit, or are they totally different?
They're both tip stiff, but they swing very differently. I think that's the answer.
Ventus Blue is much more mid. VF, you start to get a lot more down the, we would say to kind of down towards the tip. It feels like there's a lot more weight down the bottom end. So just depending on load profile and how you move the shaft, one will probably suit a lot better than the other.
Quite soon. And the VF is going to be a little bit heavier, a few grams heavier as well. So, but yeah, the VF is definitely the heavier swinging of the two shafts for sure.
Philly Central, straight off the bat, I've been going through some swing changes, now pretty grooved but not perfected. Would a fitting be an idea now, or wait for a little bit, I guess, to further groove them in?
I'd say if you're
comfortable,
I'd say now's a good time, because then actually the fitting might highlight something that helps you dial it in even more. So as long as you're comfortable and have got through that initial change, that to me is when I'd feel it's.
Yeah, I mean, I had a conversation with Lewis, one of the coaches here, Lewis Sparrow, last week, and he was speaking about one of his clients who had been playing some clubs that he wasn't necessarily convinced were the right specification. He came down and saw us. The following day, he came in for a fitting and saw us, and we picked him up a 5-8 yards in the irons, massively narrowed the dispersion. He then saw Lewis next week, and we built up the demo for him to use during the session. And Lewis was like, all of a sudden, those swing changes we were talking about just straight away just clicked. So if you're at that point where you feel like you're almost there, and you're starting to really get some repetition, but just feel like maybe the clubs are holding you back just that fraction, just go for the fitting. You really won't regret it.
I think as long as it doesn't. Once you get to the point where it doesn't feel like a different sport, like sometimes a swing change can feel so alien that I think you need to get that little bit of comfort in it, and then once this flow back to the swing, absolutely fine from there on. Yeah.
Norwegian Warhound asks, curious on when releases will be done for this year, and what would be suggestions for a high launch iron with minimal offset and nicer looks?
Okay, so launches. Firstly, I hope that all of you in the US are okay with all the storms going on. So I know Mr. Warhound is US based and right in the middle of it, I think. So I hope you're all right and safely tucked up inside with whatever provisions you need for the next week. And I think so. Higher launch, less offset. I would say think through things that are well. I mean, you're going to get the 3DP irons from Cobra. They're not necessarily fast, but they will help. With 3DP tools are going to help keep a bit of stability and launch it a little bit. I mean, Ping IT40's probably got a bit more offset. Let me think through the brands. The lack of offset's the interesting one with that.
You'd almost be potentially better off going to something based on looks and then adjusting the lofts to move the offset from finding a perfect blend of the two.
You might find the M15 Mizuno's should launch and you're soft enough to add a bit of loft to reduce the offset.
A degree and a bit
of flight. I mean, they're beautiful heads. Not the cheapest, but they are really, really pretty. I will get one to show you how pretty they are.
We got those into the studio whilst the guys were away, and first thing Simon did when he came back in this morning was check to see if they were there and then have a proper moment with them. So he's they are a stunning piece of equipment.
So we have the M15, which is actually the replacement of the 245, which is quite a neat, clean club head, but beautiful looking. And then we've got the M13, which replaces the 243, which actually it's a little bit cleaner and neater as a head shape. I actually wish that the M13 looked like the M15. I think that would, the M15 looks the more bladey. However, having said that, that's just the construction they've got to use to make the sound and the performance work. But stunning head, and that one, adding a little bit of loft will give you a bit more flight, and then we'll reduce the offset, and it's not too heavily cambered on the sole. So that
shouldn't mess with
could be a great option. Yeah.
Pro V1 David asks, evening gents, how important is swing weight for putters? If so, how is this measured? Funnily enough, we're having this conversation at about 10 o'clock this morning.
It is. It takes a bigger range of swing weight to make the same kind of difference in feel that you would find on a full swing club because of the acceleration rate. So I play a heavy-ish swing weight, but I'm lead lag, and I this might sound like an odd statement, I swing the putt ahead. Someone who is more kind of dead hands and moves the handle rather than swings the head and has a little bit less rotation, probably less sensitive to it, but it does make a difference to tempo and actually just the putter tracking back and forth for me, I think.
How is it measured? Ultimately, it's the same.
Exactly the same.
It's exactly the same. Having a conversation earlier as to what we'd call standardised swing weight for putter, and I think all three of us having the conversation came up with a different answer. So kind of says it all as to what standard is. For
massive grip weight changes. There are shafts like take the Callaway when they had their stroke labs when they were the graphite used to reduce the swing weight, but then they were tipped back. Lots of variables, but ultimately, we all came up with about a 5 to 7 point difference on swing weight, I think, for what we called standard, a 30, 34 inch, 35 inch, but is important, but it's it's not as, doesn't make as big a difference because of the length of shot you're hitting as in the full swing bay. So you can make much bigger differences and not see a too big a difference in terms of dispersion. However, your pace control and the ability to just let the putter swing, so holding out without feeling like you've got to manage the putter, those are the two bits I think that make the biggest difference for.
Kevin Phillips asks, can you compare the ADDI to the TP and the UB? Any distinct differences? Is the TP still?
TP isn't around anymore.
It's been discontinued.
Yeah. TP isn't around anymore, and UB, is that the blue one?
That is the blue one.
It's the HD that's gone. So DI and the UB. Yeah.
Just gone to grab them. The TP they discontinued last year. So that one, I mean, like there'll be the wizard will come out with some information, but in terms of testing it, we won't have it to test. Whilst he's just grabbing ahead, I'm going to just move on to the next one. Philip Langley asks, my wedges all have the same shaft as to my irons, the XP 105. I hit a draw on my wedges, whereas my irons are pretty straight. Do they need to be heavier? That is, the simple answer is maybe, because there's such a large variety of options. It could, reasons as to why that happens. It may be that actually, yes, once you get down to a shorter length of shaft, that 105 then cut down starts to become too light. And yes, that's why you draw it. But actually, it might be that depending on what head it is, the swing weight might be too light, too heavy, and it may even actually just be as simple as they're a bit more upright, so it just digs the heel a little bit and turns them over.
Sitting out this afternoon, his irons was a fade pattern. His wedges, because his hips didn't really move, he then was 5 degrees in to out, and with his irons was 3 degrees out to in. So there are technique variables. However, it's about, I would say, a 70-30 split, maybe slightly more, so 75-25 of going slightly heavier in wedge shafts than iron shafts. More about technique and how you move the club. Anyone who's really dead arms, quite often then they play the same shaft through. If you tend to have a little bit more of a pull and pull down towards the ball, then that extra weight helps just to time it up and sync it up. So as Matt said, the answer is, sadly, it's definitely maybe, but there are those few variables that are going to cause the draw, whether it's too light and then just threw the shot too soon, or it could just be technique and you might have the right shaft.
Do you want to give those
compare the DI and the UB?
And the UB. Whilst you do that, I'm going to grab, for the next question, I'm just going to grab the bits for it.
So I picked actually quite a tough hole for this. This is the 18th at PGA West that I thought looked quite fun until I've now got to step up and hit a drive on it. So obviously, so DI, it's such a famous shaft, being around, it's got to be 15 years. As a profile, it's sort of mid stiffness. There's a bit of give in the middle, and then mid stability in the tip. So it's a very, very smooth profile. I say been around a long time. Generally suits someone with a bit of a smoother tempo in the main, but something you're going to get a little bit of feedback and kick out of it. So you can definitely feel that midsection give and load, excuse me, but fairly stable down the bottom. So the thing, excuse me, with graphite design, again, talking to them about their shaft designs, they're all about smooth feel. So the DI in particular, it's not going to feel harsh. You're going to feel like you can get a bit of kick out the middle section, but just great quality material. So hence it's been around quite a long time. And that is their kind of evergreen shaft. It wouldn't surprise me if that was around for another 10 years. It's just done so well for them. Now, UB isn't actually wildly different. You can say that about a lot of their shafts. There are a lot of similarities. It's a little bit of a tighter feeling shaft. So I would say that UB is a little bit more stout, a little bit lower spin, definitely feel a little bit less give through that midsection.
Up and beyond.
Up and beyond. I thought he was talking about my tee shot. So, a little bit of a firmer feel in the handle in particular. I've just spooned that right. But a little bit tighter of a structure. That's not going to tell it, I mean. That's probably what would happen if I was actually playing this hole in real life. So definitely a little bit of a tighter feel.
Oh, and
It's
then-
interesting. It swings lighter. The DI has a little bit more tip balance to it. So for me, that's why I kind of pull against it and then use the weight to time it up. So this one, the balance point's up a little bit more. It's a tighter feel, but I personally struggle to feel the club face. So I have to quieten my arm swing down a little bit more, but it's a slightly crisper feel than DI. So in principle, marginally stronger flight, but they are actually quite similar profiles all told, but a little bit of a tighter feel overall. So if you hit against the club head end, if you like to feel the club head a bit more, DI is probably the one for you. If you like a slightly crisper feel, UB, but they are actually pretty similar shafts.
Perfect. Next up, Yorkshire Blade ask, can you compare M15 and the T250?
Aha.
So T250 is on there already, and I've got the M15 in my hand. We'll have a look.
I'm just going
to be honest, this will be
on a
quite.
shot to the green here, just because that looks more interesting than slapping into the fairway.
It'll be quite nice for me here now. I haven't seen anyone hit this with their gamer shaft in yet.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see for the M15 as to what we get.
So T250, I'm going to say I'm marginally disappointed with it as a head. I think ball speed's good, performance is solid. Low on the face, I thought it'd be marginally better, but I wish it was a softer sound. I think that's the bit that for me, they've done such a good job with all the other products. It's a clean look. You know, the visuals in the bag are great, but it's still a hard feel. And I'd like to have seen that change, but you know, it goes well. He says confidently. So it's got that real kind of hard clickiness to it. I've just absolutely laced it dead straight at it.
He's flagged it.
You know,
Oh, go on then.
go on, go there. Great club. You need one of these. So I've just stuck to about 1.5 foot. But it's a stable head. I think it's one of those ones where if you get the club down at the bottom of the ball, great. You tend to pick it. It's fine. But there are other heads, take a P770 that are definitely been better, a bit lower on the face. But you know, ball speed's good. You know, it was a little low on the face, 141 efficiency, nice and stable. It's not silly low spin, so that's quite a nice aspect about it. But if you're looking for a soft feel, well, that's probably not the head for you, I would say.
No,
Thank you very much.
Really am intrigued as to what you get as a comparison. A couple of the guys did some testing on it when we got it in last week when you guys were away.
Yeah.
And said the feel was Mizuno going back to Mizuno feel.
I mean, it's hollow body, and in the rundown video, I can't remember all the materials on it, but it's got quite a few materials on it, and that's something that Mizuno have really highlighted, I think, is how many materials and the grade of materials they use. So you've got chromoly on it, you've got carbon steel, you've got it's such a clean look. It's a little bit of a neater shape, particularly in the crutch to the Titleist. Yeah, so I know that that was one thing they're focusing on, was that feel. Yeah, I mean you're going to get a little bit of a pop off it because it's the hollow body, and so push that a little bit. That's come off fast. That's come off really quick, actually. That's 146 efficiency. Wow. 194.
He's got himself a new set of irons.
That's impressive, but it's not got that harsh hardness that we're so used to.
It was a softer sound.
There's another head that actually has been really good for that this year. It's the new TaylorMade, the QI.
Yes.
They've got a little kind of polymer bar on the back, and actually that was really remarkably good for sound, considering the horror that the previous one was. That was a markedly different sound, but we didn't do a lot of those. That's really good.
It's funny how this year
that's really good.
there's been a real focus on from most of the manufacturers, there's been a focus on the acoustics in the irons. They've really noticed that actually it's not just can we make the best performing iron, it's can we make the best performing iron that people will still pick because it sounds nice.
Yeah, and I think that's been the criticism of club heads like the Callaways in the past. The P790s haven't been too bad, but anytime you go bigger and hollow, they literally sounds like the sound rattles around inside, and it's horrible. And actually, if you can tone that down, tone the vibrations down, you get most of feel is sound. So they did a test with Nelly Corder and Tommy Fleetwood with the new TaylorMade iron, their Gamer, and then the new TaylorMade QI iron, and plugged their ears, and they couldn't tell the difference.
Says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sweating Merlot comes back with another question. Any news on Titleist 2026 release dates?
Well, Vokies are now
Any
released.
day?
They're kind of official beginning of 2nd of Feb, I think it is.
Yeah.
For in-store date.
We've started to have some of our orders. The heads are being shipped from Titleist, so with us any day. So any moment sort of thing.
And then there will be woods. James and I spoke to both Brett Porth, who's head of fitting, and Steve Pelisek, who's head of product, who are two of the best guys in the industry in terms of people who are in their position who couldn't be more giving with their time. And I think Steve has got the most positive energy anyone I've ever met in my entire life. It's an amazing bloke. But they're really hyped about their woods, which will be coming later in the year. Now, they're never not going to be, but they've been saying this since pretty much since he was over mid-year last year, and they're pretty excited about them. They're going to be slightly earlier this year, I believe, but more the July, August time.
Yeah, it's interesting. They're even more excited for this release than GT or TSR. And it's like, well, the jump we saw in both of those, it does have me worried for everyone else for the second half of this year.
I mean, their ball speed across the range has been incredible.
Yeah, and if they're talking these next one's going to be even better, watch out. CS Golfer asks, Simon, can you recommend a lighter shaft with a similar profile to PXLZ 6.0?
So 6.0 is at the 120 gram weight in the Project XLZ. So on a little bit of bounce in the tip. It's actually got a bit of tip response. You could actually, I mean, it probably doesn't swing quite as heavy. You could go into Project X Red. The 6.0 in that one is the 110, and it has a bit of response. It's definitely got a little bit of tip bounce to it. But that actually might be a really nice one to transition into. It's in theory a slightly higher flighted shaft, but that could be a really good first port of call.
My initial thought was a dynamic gold mid, but I think you've probably won the battle with the red there.
Yeah, well, and thinking the mid was in the one.
I guess in 115, it's
15,
not
it's
light
probably not different enough.
Different enough. Yeah, fair point. Ian Linfoot asks, can you hit a full send driver and a fairway finder and explain the difference in numbers? Is it attack angle?
Okay.
You get to use your driver for this.
Oh, a fairway finder on this one. Right, yeah, I've really hamstrung myself with the tee shot here, haven't I? Right, so I'm going to go. Where's that? I'm going to go full send. Right, full send and fairway finder. Okay. It's actually an interesting one, that, because so a lot of players would say fairway finder, the tee it down and squeeze it a little bit. That's one that I hear a lot of the pros talk about. Because that, in theory, you're kind of then holding the face. So, yeah. So if I was playing this on, I wanted a fairway finder. So fairway finder for me is not necessarily about changing my shot too much. I'm looking at, look at the golf hole and say my general shot pattern is neutral to a slight pull. If I'm going to tend, it was always more of a draw, but now it's neutral to a slight pull. So I'd be looking at this and going, I don't know how clearly you can see the screen, but there's agua up the left. And then you've got a strip of green and there's some sand up the right. So for me, I'm going, okay, I'm going to aim at the right edge of the fairway and play for just a little bit of a drawback in, knowing that I can put a fairly committed swing on and, should then use my natural shot shape. I think if you try and change what you normally do to find a fairway, you're going to miss the fairway because you're having to change your pattern. So for me, I'll be aiming right side and just make sure that I make a nice turn through and free wheel it up. So it's swing wise, I've just laced it into the right rough. But I'm to 90% of the time I've kept the fairway. I've taken out, unless I do something horrible, I've taken out that left-hand side. But I'm not changing what I'm doing. And I think that's the key. I know unfortunately I hit a very straight ball if I'm swinging properly, but I think if you change your patterns too much, then if I was to go, I'm going to cut it back into the fairway, I'm bringing in a pull, and that's bad for me. Whereas, so that one, actually we can have a look at the tiles. Let's look at angle of attack and things. So I aimed a bit right, so the path is going to be a bit off. So attack angle 1.7 up, face to path 0.7. So now Club's through 106, I've got quicker. So if I now go right, okay, full send. So full send, I'm still going to aim right because I know my pattern's a bit of a pull.
Oh, he's gone for it.
So full send, I'm making a real full rotation through. At least it looked different. I mean, that's a relief. That's a relief in itself.
You should do it like that more often.
So what are we at?
109.
It's better than it has been. I'll take that.
3.8.
So
Couple of
by
degrees?
going after it more, I'm not consciously changing my angle of attack. I'm not, face to path, where is it? Face to path 1.5 closed. So a little bit more rotation. Again, I know my pattern's a little bit of a draw, but essentially by making a bigger move, I'm creating that angle of attack purely by going at it harder. And again, I think really the key is, I would say from just a playing point, not a coaching point of view, that don't change more than you have to. If you have to hit a certain shot type, then fine. But if you don't have to, well, play what your shot is. And that way you keep fairway and you can go after it. And,
See, whereas I would stand here and answer the complete other way. Because for me, that's how it works. For me, if I'm going to hit just get it safe down there, it will be...
one on.
No, it will either be one on, or if it has to be drive, it will be tee it up as low as Simon has it, if not lower, and try and hit a one down on it, 10 yard, aim up the left and peel it off it. But if it's, you've got 4 fairways, do your worst, it's tee it up higher than the driver and go from 0 to 1 down to 6 up, and I'd probably see 6-7 mile an hour club change. But I know it could go anywhere from the left side of that water to the houses on the right. But it would be a time I'd only ever pull that out when I know I've got complete free rein.
Yeah.
So
And your
it's horses for courses.
your
really.
speed actually being on the more extreme. So when Matt's comment about tee height, I tee it quite low because I almost brush the grass on the way through. I still hit up in it at 3 degrees, but I don't play a high tee. James in the past has needed planning permission going on a golf course because his club head's not that near the ground. So again,
Transmission.
So I don't mean he doesn't hit straight shots, but we both do it completely differently, purely because our low points are different. So, tee height, just make sure it's right for you, rather than the whole tee it high, let it fly. Whereas for me, that brings in the flip because I have to sit back and get it. So,
Nick Queso asks, how does iron offset impact face the path values? Could you hit an iron with lots of offset and one with minimal and compare?
well, minimal one that I'll get a really offset one.
Perfect. Ian Limford then also asked, when is the Ping i540 embargo?
March, I think. I think it's mid-March.
Mid-March is the answer. I can't even say that I've seen anything about that, so I can't even give you a sneaky not supposed to
I've
comment.
got it on my spreadsheets.
I'm going to butcher this name and I apologise. L. Bieniak, have you tried the stock Ventus in the new Callaway Quantum? What would you compare it to? Our fitting kit that we got from Callaway, that's the stock options, only had the Denali in, so we have not tested that at all. Only had the Denali Frost, which
The
actually
stock Ventus. I would say a stock Ventus is going to be like every other stock Ventus.
well, yeah, it's ultimately the same shaft, just with a different colour on it. But I would say, actually, I ventured out into the fitting bay on Friday, which is, I almost fainted because I'm so far away from my home. And the client I was with was testing the Quantum, and we put the other stock shaft, the Denali Frost in there. And I have to say, I was very impressed in performance of spin consistency, face path consistency. It was for strikes that were. He's not the he plays off 16. He's not the most consistent golfer, but we didn't get a lot of variance on twist and torque from that shaft. So if you are looking at what's a good quality stock option, I was really impressed with the performance of that.
And quite a smooth balance profile.
Yeah,
as
kind
well.
of right in the middle, really inoffensive. Could actually do quite well as a stock option.
So it's face to path numbers.
Face to path on lots of offset, minimal offset.
So I'm going to start with these all go in the water, but I'm going to start with the I was going to call it the MP245, the M15. So I'll make my kind of usual move. So a lot of what offset does, in principle, it gives it more time to square up. But what we actually do is visually we align the leading edge with the front edge of the hosel. So actually, a more offset head, you're more likely to have closed to make it look square. Because if it's actually sat square, it looks open. So there's a kind of a visual element to it as well. So starting with this one, if I just make a pretty natural move. And then I shall, thank you very much. So splish, splash, splosh. I'm going to go to, where's the cursor gone? I'm going to go onto here and just switch out face to path. So 2.1 closed, slight draw.
Whoever built this demo, oh, there you go. It got stuck.
So just to kind of show this one, hopefully that's the right colour line. It's actually very minimal sort of offset. Does that show? There. So it's quite a straight line into the leading edge.
You did go extreme.
Whereas this one has an awful lot more. Does that show? Oh, so there's a heck of a lot more offset on that one. So may or may not have, hopefully that came out right. But so I'm going to make a point of aligning this up where I know is straight at address. And just swing.
Tell you what, for a Super Game Improver Club, that actually, I have to say, that sounded pretty damn good.
They've all made big improvements.
Sorry,
I
know we've been harping on about the acoustics.
But it's face to
tonight,
path 1.1. So what this really shows you is, it is overplayed what offset does for shot shape. What it does do is it, in principle, helps it launch a little bit higher. But what happens with, let me see if I can find that. That might show that offset a little bit better, the amount of move back there. But what we tend to do is make sure that that and this line up and then close it to get those lined up and make it look square. So most golfers will close the face 5 degrees at address with a heavily offset iron. That is where the drawback comes from. For me, a millisecond extra rotation rate, it's relatively minimal. It might be a couple of degrees, but as you've seen there, actually I drew the other one more. So there you
go. Nick Lewis asks, I play T150 irons with a KBS C-taper light shaft. I swing my 7-iron at 90 miles per hour, but my ball speed is only 117 and my carry is only 167. Should I be carrying it further?
Yes.
Sounds like yes.
If you're at 90 miles an hour, no matter what, whether it's a TrackMan or a quad, what you're measured on, it's, I think Jasper wants to drive ahead. No matter what you're measured on, if you're at 90 miles an hour, 160 is short for even if it's a 7-iron, it's short. So I'd be looking at more like 170, unless it's 160 meters you're talking about, then it's about
167 if it's yards, maybe. Yeah, it is very much I would be suggesting there's more in the tank.
Yeah.
Because even if I just do the conversion of the ball speed, I'm not saying 6'7", James, and I'm not throwing my hands up like this.
Spot the one who's got children.
Yeah. I look at 7-iron at 90 to ball speed at 117. That conversion to me just feels like it's a little short.
I know it's only 27. Yeah, you should be more like 130, 135.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at your 89 to 128. And to me, that just seems like there's something funky going on with efficiency, which would then mean, yes, you're leaving a fair bit on the table for making carry.
What are you going to say then? It's going to be rude. Yeah, no, it could be swing mechanics, it could be clubhead style, it could be general setup, but yeah, there's definitely quite a bit being left there.
Papa B, hello, young man.
Good evening.
Oh, clearly not aimed at you.
It used to be when Stuart was stood next to me.
For some reason, a heavy dynamic gold S300 always suits me best. I feel at my age I should be playing something lighter. Are there reasons why some people do better with heavier shafts?
So it's just about how you use the weight. Now, in principle, if you're on the more experienced side, then yeah, 130 gram shaft, in principle, you should be able to get more out of. But if you've played a long time and are used to the way it moves and your timing has developed around it, chances are you could probably drop a certain amount of weight. But if you've, for example, gone straight to a 95-gram shaft, then it's just not going to compute. So we often find that if someone's on the sort of extreme side, whether it's extremely light or heavy, proportionate to where we might have put them initially, then actually it's kind of halfway house change first. The full weight change often is too much because you can't actually time it up. But
yeah, you almost have to do 2 18 months apart, 2 staggered changes of, okay, I know we need to get to a 100-gram shaft from a 130. I'll go to a 115 because it'll make it easier. Then as you get more used to that, okay, is that now working? No, we still need to go a little bit further. Okay, we can drop it off. It then just, it doesn't give you 9 months of very miserable golf, ultimately.
But the bottom line is, this is all theory. In practice, it just has to work. You might be really efficient with it. You might be able to swing something quicker, but not strike it as well, and therefore end up no better off. So it is, ultimately, it's results-led. If the results are good, and if you don't come off the course needing a chiropractic treatment, then, if it's working, then if it ain't broke, does it need fixing? But at some point, there will be a really tangible change.
Yeah. Simon Hogg asks, hi guys, I was wondering whether you fancy giving your thoughts on the importance of grip fitting and also whether similar grips from driver to wedge is important or if some changes might be good. I'll jump straight on that second half because if you looked at my golf bag and the grips in my golf bag, it would probably, people would ask a lot of questions. I'd go from a jumbo on driver. I've just switched out of the jumbo, but I was jumbo tall velvet for 5+ years on driver, and then into multi-compound mid-size from 1 iron to gap wedge, and then sand wedge, lob wedge. I go tall velvet mid-size, but with 4 layers on the bottom hand.
Right.
So it's all sorts of, but for me, it then just allows me to have certain feels. With driver and the jumbo, it allowed me to feel like I could tense up a little more, which I know often people say is not necessarily what you're looking for, but for me, it allowed me to kind of feel like I could squeeze it a bit more so I could hit it that bit harder. Then I liked that mid-size feel. Mid-size is it's mid-size and a couple of layers is pretty much spot on for me.
Kind of correct, yeah.
And then down into the wedges where it's more feel shots. I then didn't like that firmer feel in the top hand, so I then go back to the tall velvet. And then where I do a lot of manipulation, I always play logo down rather than logo up, especially into the wedges. And then I grip down it a lot, so I didn't want to have that taper, so then I put the extra layers. So for me, the answer is toy around with it.
I think you're likely to find the extremes at the ends.
Yeah, and be conscious of any changes you do make if you are doing individual clubs. Just be aware of what that does to swing weight, because it moves it, and base weight, because it changes a lot about how the whole golf club moves. Even if you make the swing weight the exact same, if you go from a mid-size to a jumbo and you've added 15, 20 grams at one end, that's a 25-gram heavier golf club. That's a big change.
Yeah, I think, as you say, if it's going to be in the extremes, i.e. the wedges and the driver end, where a change could be beneficial. So particularly something like driver for a higher speed player going a little bit bigger, does that quieten it down? Does that help to feel a bit more club face control? Does it help make it big muscle oriented rather than hands? But very interesting chat. There's a chap called Jonathan who works near Paris. He does gears stuff, and he did a chat about grips, and there were massive grip weight variances. But actually, the bigger grip, actually the test person made them swing quicker. But then it all went into what does it do to shafts, and ultimately then the grip weight made a massive difference because they went from 45 grams to 110 grams. Vast differences, and there are so many knock-on effects that ultimately, where we can blow on and off grips and test them, you can see whether there's a good or a bad element to it, and that's then ultimately the way of gauging it. But I think it's something that, yes, a grip fit is a very long answer. Whereas is grip fitting important? Yes, it really is. And theory is a great start point, but then it's a case of, right, if we push it a little bit, or depending on what your patterns are, you might find going a little more extreme in the driver from a size point of view, or in the wedges to help get your hands working a bit more. It's got to be comfortable, number one, and then so you might just find on those that are slightly different grip size suits.
Lovely. We got about 5 minutes left, so let's go for
That's gone quick.
let's go for some rapid fire
Yeah.
to see if we can get through all of these. Daniel Winterbottom asks, "Hi guys, I really enjoy the Monday lives. What would be the recommended shaft weight in hybrid and fairways when iron shafts are 125?" Yeah. I read that question and thought, oh, that's a...
So I would be saying, I mean, fairway wood shaft, you're likely to be in the upper 70s. 75 to 80 grams is likely to be where you sit. And then hybrid, kind of the 85 to 90 would be the kind of, that would be the start point I would go to. Yeah, I mean, it's on the stronger side of mid, but that's the likely start point. But it's one of those.
Matt, evening chaps, got a rattle in my forward. Can I give you guys a call to get it booked in? Absolutely. Give us a shout tomorrow. One of us will be here from 8 o'clock till 6. So just give us a call tomorrow and we'll sort that out for you.
Can often be a very, very simple fix. Yeah.
I wondered when this question was going to come up. Craig Annis asks, "Evening gents, love the show. What are your thoughts on Scotty going back to the QI10 this week?"
We actually didn't mention it earlier. So it's an interesting one in that they all switched, all of them, to QI4D, and we've seen the spin consistency out of it. But we've also seen where certain swing speeds have had better results than others. So, you know, when you were hitting it...
It's a shame I'm not healthy enough to hit it tonight because, when I was hitting it, just lacked that final punch off the face. It really did lack... even if I came down to 120, it just really sort of lacked that final punch. But as soon as I then dropped it to 110, it was like, okay, and here's 1.5 smash.
The smash numbers we got to one. I've seen one high 140s, 150 smash, but you were seeing 145, 146.
Yeah, I couldn't get it above 145.
130. So it could be to do with that. It's still, Scotty is renowned to be hard to get to change. So we'll see what the others do, and we'll see whether Adrian Reitveld can get him back into it. It wouldn't surprise me if he did, and this was just okay, I'm actually playing while I'm in contention. I want to go back to comfort blank. Oberg did it when he won at Torrey Pines. He was playing GT2 for 2 rounds and TSR2 for 2. So, and is now settled into GT. So it's one of those ones where it wouldn't surprise me if he goes back into it, but I think that was a real comfort blanket of it's not quite where I want it, so I'm going back, and then they'll get him into it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see driver stat numbers from the practice rounds that week, because you might find that actually Scotty just didn't feel like he had the same control over, because it's just, there's 4 weights on it. The guys are still getting used to trying to work out what the right setup is. They may have just got it slightly wrong.
Yeah.
And he went, actually, it's tournament week, I'm going back. Philly Central, second question tonight. Have KBS Tour 120 shafts in irons and feel weight is okay. Driver is hazardous, 60 stiff in a TS3. Shaft weight issue or head issue or both. Driver feels really heavy to swing.
Depends which hazardous. There are some hazardouses that are very tip heavy.
In theory, it'll probably be the black if it was TS.
That's a Gen 5 probably, isn't it? Gen 4, Gen 5.
Gen 4.
That was relatively neutral. It might be a little light. If it's 60, quite possibly the shaft's just a little bit light. Because it sits at the bottom end of the 60s in that. So chances are there's just not quite enough to hit against, I would say, in that. So worth maybe checking something nearer the 70 gram mark.
Philip Langley, this was about the putter swing weights. As grip weights can be so varied, it would be a good idea to choose grip first as part of a fitting. So then at least, because the grip weight, I guess where there's such a variance, it does make sense.
Yeah, I mean, there are heads that you can switch the head weights out to manage it, maintain it. But yeah.
I mean, we would, where we've got the adjustable system upstairs, realistically, Matt would go through a session, and if you found very early on that you love the feel of a certain grip, whether it's size or weight, where we've got the interchangeable, we can still test pretty much every head with that grip.
And if it's a light grip that you like, but that makes the swing weight too heavy, you can actually put a little mass at the top of the shaft.
Counter core and bring it back.
You can do it, but yeah, it's probably not a bad idea to kind of dial in to base level what grip first. Yeah.
Stuart Brister asks, hi both. Firstly, thanks Simon for sorting out the GT2. Possible bonkers idea. Love my GT1 3 tour off the deck, but got GT280 for the 3-wood slot. Thinking lofting it up and 7-wood shaft like Diamana RB thoughts.
In the fairway wood?
In the fairway wood.
Yeah, I mean, you need to... So GT1, though, the only thing is head weight. If you go to 7-wood shaft length, then head weight might be hard to achieve. So it might need to be more like a 5-wood length, but not that bonkers. I've heard much more bonkers than that. Shorter shaft, more control. Just got to make sure you can keep the feel of the head and keep the strike.
Eric Rowe, thoughts on 259 Ping 259s compared to SM11s? Very different heads, one to the other, where the Ping is a lot more, I don't want to call it cavity-backed wedge because it's not a real case, but it's got a lot more tech in it to make it more forgiving. It's a slightly different feel. It's, in my eyes, it's a slightly harsher feel than the SM.
The grinds on the 259s have got a little closer to the SM11s this year.
Still probably missing one or two options, but they are different. They are very different, and I would just say the simplest answer to that really is just test them.
Yeah, I mean they're both very good, both well designed. Yeah, it's hard to screw up a wedge essentially, but different feels, different looks, but both very, very good. I would say you might well see the Vokeys have a slightly lower launch.
Yeah.
Very slightly, yeah. Right. Couple more?
Couple more.
Quick fire, we've got a couple of quick fire ones.
Yeah. Quick question from Jonas FL. I was fitted into a T100-150 combo, but took myself into going full T150 instead. Coming from P770, thoughts, did I overthink it?
Not necessarily. There's a progression to the heads. You got the one piece 8 to pitch and then 7 iron up. It's just a question of what you need the lofts to be. I wouldn't say it's overthought. I would say maybe the other one might have been slightly overthought, especially now with into the 4 iron. You've got the cutaway and a bit of speed in the 100. So we're doing less splits of those now as a result. So it doesn't sound like the wrong choice. Just make sure you've got the flight where you want it through the set.
Ian Limfold, has anyone ever asked for wooden dowels in the bottom of their shafts as Tiger would? No, they haven't. It's something that I only knew about very recently as well, actually. It's something that I can understand, but you're adding something else into the build. I kind of get it. It's just is it another element into the build that risks something, but you never know. You might do a bit of testing on it. Alistair Mack, evening gents. Sorry I'm late and hope you're doing well. Set on coming in before May for an iron wedge fit. Based on new release, when would be the best time to aim for? Probably sometime after Feb.
Yeah, it's any time from March on. We'll have had a bit of experience with them, so we'll have a good feel on what they do, which actually, from getting the best fit, probably gives us a bit of backup of, right, we've seen different scenarios with it and what the heads do and what they seem to be doing from a launch and a spin point of view. So, that's probably a good time.
Andres Londano, hello from Colombia. Had the chance to say hello last week at the PGA show. Great content.
Lovely to see you and really nice for you to say hi as well. So, great to see you. Hope you had a good show.
We got 4 more. Let's just
fire through them.
Jonas FL, my wife, 82 mile an hour driver, gets fit into light, shorter shafts and high launch heads, but the head still feels heavy. Swing weight C6, C7. What should we adjust first?
If they're short and they're still C6, C7, then there actually is the grip too light.
Yeah.
That's one of the things. If you go really like a 35-gram grip, then it doesn't mean the club's heavy, but it's shifting the balance down the bottom end. It might be that actually a heavier grip helps make it swing a little bit better. So each of the components, chances are it's a light shaft and a relatively light head. So the grip weight might be the problem.
Jasper L, do you supplement a wedge fitting with the Titleist app? Lots of content on this coming out. Do you feel an indoor fitting can be as effective as outdoors with all the bounce and grind options? Simon went through a video on wedge fitting indoors, which is on the channel, which kind of gives like a full rundown of why we do indoors and why actually we think indoors is as effective, if not more effective than outdoors. So I would truly say give that a watch because it's a real, this nerd going full nerd, talking about wedges. Do we use the Titleist app? At the moment, no.
Partly how it's got to then interact with different systems and an app, and you're sat there looking at your phone. I know I went out to Carlsbad in March last year and went through it with the guys. Spent time with Corey Gerrard, spent time with Aaron Dill out there, and actually, it's a great baseline. They're actually starting to do it with their tour players as well. But it's again, if you understand the numbers you're looking at, angle of attack is part of it, but it doesn't actually tell you how someone's impacting the turf and delivering it. So it's a great baseline, but where you play and how you play your shots will then mean that you have to shift things off it. I think it's a really good resource, but for an experienced fitter, do you need it? No, but it's a great resource.
Last two, Joey D. How does tipping a Tour AD UB6S drive shaft to 1 inch affect stiffness? will it make it play more like an X?
No. No, all you're doing is you're shortening it a little. You shorten the tip a little bit. It means it's marginally firmer in the tip. The majority of the shaft is still the stiff flex rather than the X. So all the bit that you're working, the handle, the load you're putting on, that's still responding the same way. In theory, it's just slightly less deflection at the bottom end and about probably maybe 100, 150 revs less spin. And it might feel a little bit more stout at the bottom end, but it's a fine tune rather than a noticeable change.
And final one, SJ Davis, have you tried the new Bridgestone Tour balls? Any truth in distance claims?
Haven't had a chance to test them yet. They're tricky, but they're less readily available over here. But that's something that we will be doing over the coming months. But there's so many club head things to test. Most of the content will be on that. But Bridgestone, great quality balls and underrated, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
Do seem to be fast though. Anything I've seen on them, they do seem to be fast ball speed numbers.
That's our lot.
Thank you for sticking with us.
We managed to get through them all.
Thought it'd be harsh not to, based on having been away, swanning it off. This time last week, James and I would have been at Accra.
Oh, okay, fine. I was expecting you to...
It was cold.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Every day I got a complaint about the weather whilst it was raining here, and then followed with a photo of pure sunshine. So, yeah, take from that as you wish.
Wearing lots of layers. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this. Hope you enjoyed the bit of the roundup on the PGA show as well. I'll be back here next week. Will be someone else lined up, no doubt. Or if he's fully fit again, you never know. Might be able to persuade him.
Stuart told me another week, so probably not. Might be the week after.
Yeah.
But I'll reappear.
But we'll have more and more of the new demo kit in to be able to test. So some of the timelines lift. So hopefully we'll have pretty much everything in by next week, and we'll get whacking away with some of the new kit for you. Thanks for all the questions. Check out, as Matt said, there's some content on there, some of your questions. Check out our channel. There's some of those answers on there as well. There'll be loads more content coming through in the coming weeks. Product comparisons, it's sort of silly season for that now. But thank you so much for joining us. Have a great rest of this week, and we'll see you again, potentially you.
Next week.
Possibly not, maybe someone else, but I will see you again next week. Thanks for watching. See you soon.
Good night.